So we have a special promotion going on here in February. This is our diesel tablet. This was just launched last year. This is our mid-range diagnostic tool. It will do thousands of the most common diagnostic commands. So if you're working on your EGR system, you're trying to change engine parameters, you're trying to work on your SCR system, this will do the resets, the calibrations, the installs, all the things. You can one tap to repair information to get instant repair information for all your fault codes. It's a great tool to put inside your shop, and it's priced very, very aggressively for the price point. And in February, we have a special promotion going on. So if you buy this tool in February, and there's a limited amount, you will get 5 free online training courses. So these online training courses are not about the tool. These courses are about how to do electrical, how to troubleshoot after-treatment systems, how to do all this advanced stuff that you need to know for today's commercial truck. So it's a $500 value, comes absolutely free with the product for the month of February. Check it out, 30-day money-back guarantee. We know you're going to love it. We sold a ton of these things already. Welcome, everyone, back to another episode of the DL. I am your host, Tyler Robertson. And as you can tell, we're not in the studio today. We are actually in Grapevine, Texas at Heavy Duty Aftermarket Week. We got the sweet setup here. We're doing some podcast interviews. This is a great event. I'm sure we'll put in all kinds of footage around everything going on here. And we're going to be introducing you to some new faces, some new companies you may not have heard of, or maybe you have. So today I brought Josh with Turbo Solutions here. So man, welcome to the show, our first podcast of the day.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tyler, for having me on the show. It's great to be here. I think a lot of your company. I appreciate everything you guys do for the industry. And thanks again for having me today to talk about turbos.
So I think that's what's really great thing about this event is just how many different people all put in our little parts to try to help the situation and solve problems for people. And a lot of people might not know who Turbo Solutions is or how long you've been around for, what you guys do. So it'd be great if you can kind of set the stage here for everyone.
Sure, yes. Thank you for that. And the nice thing is, just like our name is Turbo Solutions, and that's exactly what we do. We are true craftsmen in the fact that we remanufacture turbochargers. And even within turbocharging, we specialize in the more modern, advanced variable geometry VGT turbos that are part of the emissions system as well. So our team, our company was formed by Warren Klein in 2015. But prior to that, he has a long background of remanufacturing and was in the driveline component remanufacturing world. So we took some new people from our new company that we acquired, and we built together a program to be the premier remanufacturer of turbochargers. And we've really embraced that, and we're through and through turbocharger specialists.
Anecdotally, I follow a lot of Facebook groups. We get we get hundreds of tech support calls a day. We see fault code data. Turbochargers have been kind of a problem the last couple of years, it feels like, with OEMs running out of stock, things going on there. Like, are we through the woods? Is it better yet? Like, what's the landscape looking like? Because it's a pretty major component. You can't run a truck without a turbocharger.
And that's the dynamic too. And who would have thought a turbocharger has a microprocessor, a chip? And these modern turbos, these smart turbos, if you will, the variable geometry, they contain a chip. And as far as a lot of the internal components, a lot of the other pieces, that supply chain is improving, but the chip shortage, just like anything from a toaster oven, to a turbo, is impacted. And so, we're having to think outside the box, and being blessed that we're a remanufacturer. The advantage we have is we can take something and we can make two things into one. We can rob Peter to pay Paul to make a unit. So we're very blessed in that regard. We have that capability.
Yeah, so remanning really relies on a huge core bank, right? You got to have a lot of them available to be able to build things. Has that been okay on that side of it, finding all the necessary cores and getting them back, or is it problematic?
There's been some problematic ones in regards to certain manufacturers, but the good news is being able to if they can't find one from the OEM level and they're out of options. Our R&R program, which is remanufacture and return, we can actually send a call tag directly to the customer and have that turbo shipped in to us, and we can remanufacture that turbo 48, 72 hours in our shop, and then we ship out.
Oh, for that customer?
Yes.
Like almost like a...
So our and we partner with authorized dealers. We have, we are very respectful of the distribution that we have set in place through true traditional distribution. But our dealer partners go out and our distributor partners go out and they call on various fleets and various end users, and we offer that as a service. And that's a really cool thing. And that allows us to not only dabble into our primary market, which is heavy duty and medium duty, but it also allows us to do, Bobcats. We've done everything from a light rail train application to an Abrams tank. So really cool being able to take a core and build from it. And that's exactly what we do. I mean, I think of our company kind of like the guys that are rolling that 57 Bel Air off the Barrett Jackson that did the full resto mod. That's exactly what we do with the Turbocharger. We bring life back into it, and we bring back to
it. And I gotta imagine, when it comes to turbocharger, I mean, there's so many variations, right? And they're all different. So I don't say they're all unique, but there's got to be a lot of variation out there. So how is that on the remanufacturing side? Does it take a while? Like, oh, this is, like you mentioned Bobcat. Like, oh, I've never seen a Bobcat. Now we got to rebuild the thing. Is it like starting from square one, or is it
sometimes? Yes, and that's the real thing too about the last couple of years because of the supply shortages, especially at the OEM level, where we're getting demand on turbos that were, I might only had a sales history in the last 5 years of one sale. And now I'm getting, can you get me 100 of these? Can you get me 50 of these? And they're coming out of the woodwork. So that piece is challenging, especially when you're looking at one that you don't know. But the nice thing is, we've got a dedicated team that really, really thoroughly understands turbos. And we take, what we see in other applications, so we can bring that through. Now, some of the turbos all fall in the same family, so they're very similar, but this mounts up just a little bit different. This piece is just slightly different. So we can fabricate and custom that too. Sometimes we have to modify and make modifications to an existing one to make that happen. But we've got the tooling and the fabrication technology to be able to do that.
So turbochargers are not like simple things. They're actually complex. There's electronics in a lot of them now, right? So, I mean, and I sell diagnostic tools. We've tried to get distributors to sell our upper tier products, and we really struggled at it because it was such a technical conversation and so many questions. And I know you guys have distribution and distributors out there. So how do you guys help your distributors actually overcome that? Because it's not quick to pick up how to sell and figure out turbochargers.
Correct. Yeah, and one of the big thing is, it's not like, a certain model year could have 4 or 5 different turbo variations on the same model year. So it's very important for us to capture as much information as we can. We've built a cross-reference platform called our Turbo Key. We give that as a tool to our authorized dealers to utilize to help their customers. It allows them to check our inventory and order directly off the app as well. And then it also includes diagnostic help, turbo tips basically on the install. There's installation videos, there's troubleshooting. So we've provided a tool to kind of help that. But to your point, I mean, that's the thing that is really a challenge for us too. There's a lot of people that alter or change. They put a different turbo that was not intended for that application. And then when they buy a turbocharger from us, I'm selling them a turbo for a totally different application that they want it to make on, and it just doesn't work that way. Yes, it bolts up, but that doesn't make the turbo, that's not proper for that.
As you're saying, I'm smiling because I'm thinking of I follow a lot of trucker Facebook groups. And that comes up all the time. Like, oh, I'm going to throw this marine turbocharger onto my on-highway diesel engine. And every time I see it, I'm thinking I don't think that's the way that works. You can't just do that and get more horsepower.
Exactly.
More whatever, right?
They think, I had a guy the other day too, I want this, 84 millimeter turbo, and it's this massive turbo, and they want to put it on ISP. It was never it was intended for a high performance Caterpillar application.
Yeah.
Or, like an industrial cat. We get that a lot too. I do see a lot of guys that put a C18 in a brand new truck, and then they're trying to modify it, and you're taking something that wasn't designed for that. And these turbos, they're before you had the variable geometry turbo, you had the high pressure and the low pressure turbo on the CAT applications. Yep. Now you've got all that in one application. The VGT turbo, basically those vanes distort the gases around, so it gives you that high pressure and that low pressure all in the same turbo now. Yeah. So, and another thing people that don't realize too when they do alter stuff like that, the VGT turbo in many instances, not all, but many instances, also serves as the third and final stage of the engine brake. So by replacing that and trying to play, I'm the guy that's going to soup up this truck, you that comes at a cost, because now you're risking the temperatures of the engines. You're going to put more wear and tear on the fan hub. You're going to put more wear and tear on the rotating electrical, and you're going to sacrifice the life on your service brakes. So we really try to get the customer to keep. We want to be a direct OEM replacement. That's our goal for the customer. Let's have an option for you for that exact engine that you want.
Let's talk about quality then, right? Because that's the one thing everyone says with OEM is like, oh, I need the OEM. And I always tell people like, look, the OEM doesn't make a lot of those parts. They're just having somebody else make them for them, and they're branding them or doing whatever. But with reman, like how does the quality compare on a reman versus like I'm buying a brand new OEM one?
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up too. And when you're talking a turbocharger, there's some very, very key elements to that and certain metallurgies that you need and fine metals. And that's really the thing is, our company doesn't cut corners in that regard. We are a high quality replacement turbocharger company. And when it comes to quality, we take that very, very serious. And keep in mind, I mean, it goes back to our core competency of Turbo Solutions being a Turbo Solutions guy. That goes back to I'm not a diesel guy. So our guys look at broken, busted turbos. We see the failure points. I mean, we look at failure points on, say, an ISX, and then we also see an X15. And, we take the X15 being the more modern application, we can see where those changes have been made from Cummins. And we can take that technology and change that design and implement for a better, older generation turbo too. So we take that and we bring that forward. And as far as the componentry, the nice thing about our company is we are a Cummins wholeset master distributor, and we buy from Cummins wholeset. So we're very blessed to be able to have a blend of OEM and quality tier 1 and tier 2 internal components.
Yeah. What's the warranty on a reman turbo?
So any turbo that we sell, it carries across the board. We carry a 1 year unlimited hour, unlimited mile warranty. And that's the thing about turbochargers. And I don't want anybody to get scared. Warranty is just a part of the game with turbochargers. I mean, turbochargers it's not a closed system, but it might as well be a closed system. For example, you neglect the DPF. You don't change your oil at the proper interval, and your oil's not the right, and you have carbon buildup. I mean, they all have to work in sync. And so the turbocharger takes a lot of abuse. And if you don't get to that root cause, you can burn a turbo quick. I mean, we see so many turbos that come in, and the customers are really, really upset. They just installed the turbo, and then we get the turbocharger in, and I can't tell over the phone. It's till our team takes it apart and looks at it. And we provide a failure analysis report, but we've been seeing a lot of fins, and turbos don't have like fins per se, and these are fins coming from the charge air cooler.
Yeah.
And when I make the call back to the customer, they say, "Well, why would I check my charge air cooler?"
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why, because my guy's got part of your charge air cooler, and yes, you need a charge air cooler.
Yeah.
I hate to be the bad news, but that's what took out your turbo. So we find it's very important to educate the installer. And so our warranty, we go a step above and beyond, and we really stand behind that craftsmanship. And so we really do try to work with the customer and make sure that they understand, get them a replacement unit, and keep that truck on the road.
Yeah, I mean, a 1 year warranty is solid, right? Like that's what people get with most componentry they buy in their vehicles.
And with a turbocharger too, you're going to see that warranty off most of the time. Most turbos fail right on startup, and so the 1 year warranty really extends, and that's what helps with our dealer. Our authorized dealer network across the country. The nice thing is we're not the local turbo guy. So if you buy a turbocharger here in Texas and you break down in Washington State, we have a network of partners that are authorized dealers for us that have our inventory and can help and facilitate.
So I ran a shop before. We had 25, 30 technicians. We were not failure analysis people, right? Like we'd get something like it's broken. Is it warranty? I don't know. File a claim, like all these things. But I got to imagine there's people at Turbo Solutions who can just look at one and be like, oh, I know exactly what happened just by a quick visual inspection.
Right, yeah, and it's kind of cool. Metal tells us a story, right? So it's kind of like forensic. We know, we open up a turbo, we see that white in there. We know that there was a coolant issue.
Yeah.
Coolant was introduced, and that was water that caused that. We can see the way that another thing too is turbos have seals in them. They're not rubber seals. A lot of people think they're rubber seals. They're metal seals. They're often called piston rings. And they function like a piston ring. I mean, there's no piston obviously in a turbo, but these rings are designed to blow out under pressure. And everybody's so mad when, you just sold me that turbocharger and it's doing the exact same thing as the one I just took off.
Yeah.
And it's leaking out oil. And I go, okay, well, say that again. What did your first one do before you put mine on? Well, it's leaking oil.
Yeah.
You never found that root cause. And really, Mr. Customer, you should be thankful because that pressure and balance by that blow by, yes, it's going to go downstream. It's going to damage your DOC, your SCR, but it's saving your engine block from that pressure buildup and that crack on the engine block, which is obviously a much more expensive cost.
Yeah, we have these one-day training classes we do across the United States. It's all about diagnostics, and it's exactly what you're saying, just differently. It's don't treat the symptom, go find the root cause, and we see that all the time in after treatment where they just keep dealing with like, oh, force a regen, swap out the DPF, all the things. Like, well, guys, you're not fixing the oil leak that happened way upstream.
Right.
That's causing it to block up way down here, and it's that parts cannon that happens where people just start throwing. It's actually amazing how much money people will spend on parts just throwing them at a problem before spending the actual time to go actually figure out why the problem's occurring to begin with.
And these components, turbos are just one mix of it, right? And that's the exciting thing too for the whole our industry and what we provide to help fleets too is, believe it or not, in 2020, engine after treatment as a product category surpassed tire. Fuel is still, obviously driver and then
that's
fuel
huge,
expense,
but
to think that we're in the number one repair category, and turbos are expensive, and there's a lot of people that just don't keep in mind this is not just a turbocharger anymore, and they're used to that turbo that they bought for a fraction of the cost 20 years ago.
Yeah, we're starting to see that too. Like you do a lot of these surveys, like TMC does surveys, these companies do surveys on costs and reportings and whatnot. It's amazing to see how much repairs are all of a sudden like eking their way up into like problems for the fleets. And it's always surprised me. I'm not speaking for all fleets, but most fleets I've worked with, they're not the best on managing their parts inventory, and they're not the best on managing their repairs. And they're all reactive. They're all just like trying to get that truck back on the road as quick as possible. So it's interesting to see how things are starting to change here.
Yeah, and you mentioned having the software and stuff like that too. One of the unique things that we do that differentiates us from a lot of the OEMs at the OEM level is we do offer the turbo and the actuator as a complete calibrated unit. So it allows that technician the opportunity to have a failure too, because a lot of times they'll strip out the actuator when they're taking it out, or they just don't have insight or the tooling to be able to program that turbo to the actuator. So what we found is, hey, let's have a value proposition for the installer. Let's eliminate that right out of the gate. So our actuator is ready to start talking to the ECM as soon as it's connected.
Yeah, no, we see that as well, right? That's one of the probably a top 20 question is, can your tool calibrate VGT actuators? Like, yes,
that probably comes up a lot, right?
Yeah, it comes up all the time for customers, right? So we definitely have our salespeople down on that one. So let's talk distribution a little bit, because I always find it fascinating how different companies do their distribution. So how's it going out there, like in the marketplace? Are you guys growing this last couple of years, like with COVID and everything going on, or how's it
Yes,
going?
in the last couple of years, since COVID came on, we've expanded. So our company's located in Pennsauken, New Jersey, just outside of Philadelphia. And that's where all of our turbos are remanufactured, proudly here in the United States. And in the last 3.5-4 years, we added another distribution point through a 3PL. So we partner now actually with UPS. But we have a 3PL in Chicago, and last month we opened one up here in Dallas. Okay. So we're moving westward. We've got more inventory in the middle of the country, and our growth has really been in the middle center section of the country. Obviously, we're an East Coast company, and now we're moving further west. And the great thing too, with availability, we do have a lot of customers coming on board out for the further west you go. And I can confidently say, with our R&R program, we can turn around a turbo in 48 to 72 hours in-house. We can ship it to the customer. So if the guy's in Sacramento, if the guy's in Portland, we could still have that turbo to them within 7 to 10 business days, which is really good turnaround considering, there's a lot of times on parts it's to be determined. So that's helping us, and we're expanding and moving westward.
So we've always been direct to customers, and just this last year or so, we've said, okay, let's take some of our more easy to explain, less expensive tools, and let's try to set up distributors.
Sure.
So distributors are brand new to me and everything. Love to hear, how are you guys going out there and supporting your distributors? Maybe I can pick up some tips, or anything you can give me here to help would be actually appreciated.
So that's the other great thing too about our company is we sell through distribution. We're a traditional truck parts company through and through, and we respect the distribution channel. I came from HDA Truck Bride, very respective of the aftermarket side, but then also formulating customers that want to make an investment and really partner with us. So we look for an authorized dealer in certain marketplaces that we don't want a lot of overlap. We want to try to control that as best as we can, but we look for certain individuals and certain companies. Companies that are in the game, and that's one of the ways that we provide support is we do ride-alongs. So we go out. Not only do we do ride-alongs where we go out and get introduced to the end users, but and give that salesperson, that outside salesperson, that confidence. But we also work a lot with the inside, with the phone room, with the parts counter, to be able to educate them on our product, to know our product. And when we get the opportunity to go out there and really hone in and take those hard questions, right? The more technical questions that, and I tell the guys, I tell the outside salespeople, you guys got to be experts on so many different product lines, whether it be lightings, brakes, transmissions. I'm just a turbo guy. So let's take all your hard, the customers that you're a little nervous about. There's rarely a time where it really shocks me that I haven't been asked that question before. I mean, there's always that what if, but most of the questions we can get answered, and we can give that salesperson that confidence. So we offer that, and we also offer our tool called Turbo Key. Turbo Key is exclusive for our authorized dealers. It is a cross-reference platform with now over 25,000 crosses built into it. It gives you pricing and availability, and it also allows for some tools to be able to share some training with their team as well.
So one of the advantages I've had not having distributors is I can control the price. Like, it's just me selling. People aren't going to undercut, all these things. And that was one of my big concerns going to the distribution model, is like, man, I can't, it's harder to control that, right? And I was like, man, I really don't want this to be a race to zero. Because I was in the HD space before with like brake shoes and drums. And
Sure.
It was like, man, everyone's selling the same product and they're just undercutting each other. And no one's making any margin here. What are we doing? So how have you guys, are you able to help prevent that? Or how do you deal with that situation?
That's where you run into some, because as customers grow too, they go into different markets that they've never been into. And, and we're seeing that across the board with a lot of our customers that are, and we're very respectful. We've had customers on the East Coast acquire customers in the Midwest and customers out West, and they're good customers. So I can't say, no, you can't buy my product. But we have relationships, and we really do work with that customer to identify, some of our customers are very focused on vocational. Some of them, and we try to get that niche. I mean, the guys that do the niche, we try, and we're very honest and open on who those dealers are in that marketplace.
Yeah.
And so those authorized dealers for us. So we work in conjunction with our authorized dealer to come up with a game plan. And if there's certain accounts that are a problem, we do our best to try to resolve that. But you're right. That's what we don't want. We don't want to set up everybody on the same block. Yeah. We don't want it to be a race to the bottom, because that lessens the value proposition. And, our product yields very, very good margin, and it also suffices as a better value proposition, versus a lot of OEM direct products. So we want to keep and maintain that philosophy and that value proposition to our customers, to our dealers.
Well, Josh, I've been following your company for a while. Sounds like you guys are doing great things over there at Turbo Solutions. People want to get a hold of you. They want to learn more about the company. Where would they go?
Yeah, please check us out. Our website is tsreman.com. We just added a great craftsmanship video that talks about our quality, that talks about our company, and very proud to represent our team. And we have a very dedicated team. And like I said, there's a lot of companies out there, but lean on us, please. That's the other part that's fun about our job is, we can really go deeper than a lot of other companies because we're so specialized in what we do. So yes, please check us out on our website, tsreman.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. As we end every episode, it's not just diagnostics, it's diagnostics done right. And need some turbochargers? Check out Turbo Solutions. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll catch you on the next episode.